right now that your home is not ready for all those people to come over for the first time since, well, last year's holiday season. So that's why it's important to get ahead of the game right now by calling Zero Res over to take care of your carpets, tiles, rugs, and more. Zero Res has a 4.9 rating on Google reviews with over 17,000 reviews, and the Zero Res Gotta Love It guarantee makes it easy to get what you pay for. Yes, Zero Res absolutely stands by every cleaning. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at $149, and don't forget your air ducts. You can get $75 off any air duct cleaning this month. Call Zero Res at 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com to schedule your appointment today. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 25, Thursday sunny with a high near 36, and Friday sunny with a high around 34. Grab a tray of Cafe Latte's Cafeteria and select from a wide variety of sandwiches, salads, and soups. The bakery features fresh baked breads, cupcakes, and more, while the pizza and wine bar has gourmet pizzas that pair perfectly with their 30-plus wines by the glass. Located off Victoria and Grand at St. Paul or at CafeLatte.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
And this is Ghostbox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I did have a bit of a scare when I came in here tonight because I drove in and the boss was here, the guy who owns the station, Chad. And I thought, my gosh, am I going to be fired? Sadly, or not sadly, I mean, not sadly for me, maybe for everyone else, I was not fired. So we had a really good conversation. I always enjoy my time with Chad, and not because he's still in the building and I know he's listening, but also because it's just really, it's always fun. We love to strategize about the show and where we hope to take it and stuff. So I always love talking with Chad about it. So that was a nice surprise. That's all I know. And I got paid. So there is something nice about that as well. I'm really excited tonight. I've been trying to get Scott Porter on the program for some time. He has consistently ignored my Facebook messaging. He has consistently acted like nothing was ever sent to him. And finally, I don't know what it was that broke through, but we were finally able to figure something out. And tonight we're going to be talking about the program him and Stephanie Burke are doing on Fox Nation. It's a streaming platform that has wonderful programs. Amongst them, this Secrets of the Asylum, which is a pretty amazing program. Scott, welcome to Ghostbox Radio.
Hey, thank you, man. I'm glad to be here. Finally,
I know, kidding. Well, and okay, so to add insult to injury, Scott, I'm just gonna, and maybe this is maybe going too far. I don't know, but you had done a show with Tremendous in the cities here in Minnesota, with the last program that you all did on Travel Channel. And I was in the wings about to have my own program on the Travel Channel through Tremendous, but they were waiting to see not only how your program did, but how Ghost Brothers was doing at the time. And needless to say, I'm on radio. So I think we can all see how well your guys' program had gone. So, just know.
Hey, listen, sometimes I think radio may be better. You just never know.
Well, at least they don't have to see me. That's the main thing about that. And no, it's all good now. I've learned to forgive you. So Anyway.
I appreciate that.
I bet you do. I bet you do. The program we're going to talk about today is Secrets of the Asylum. I really want to get into some of the nuts and bolts about it. Once again, it is streaming on Fox Nation. If you do not have Fox Nation, it's pretty easy to sign up. And if I'm not mistaken, Scott, if you sign up for a year, you get a month free, don't you?
Oh, actually, if you sign up right now, it's $19.99 for the entire year.
It is.
And if you are a veteran or a first responder and you sign up, you get a year free.
One of the things I did not know, and I because maybe I'm not paying close enough attention. At the beginning of Secrets of the Asylum, you had mentioned that you had worked in law enforcement. May I ask what you did, please, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Oh, I don't mind a bit. I worked in a couple facets. I worked for the sheriff's department here locally back years ago. I left there and ended up working for the state and worked in the department where we enforced judicial directives on managed care contractors. I got away from the physical law enforcement side of it to where I was enforcing it with a pen.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your service. I mean, obviously we don't live in the same state or anything, but honestly, thank you so very much for it. Because I mean, I could never do it, and I have so much admiration for those who can and do it very well. So thank you so much for that. Here's the other question, though, Scott. You went law enforcement. You got into paranormal. You are not the only person I know who either had been in law enforcement and went into the paranormal or been doing them simultaneously. What do you think that there's any particular trait in being in law enforcement that really appeals to want to go and investigate the paranormal?
I think probably our passion, for anyone who works in that type of capacity. I think the desire to discover and to find evidence that proves something is there or something exists. I think that's part of it. We're inquisitive people by nature.
Yeah.
So not just the law enforcement side, but those who look for answers everywhere. I think you could find, I've talked to physicians who are into the paranormal, and they are the same way. We all like to look and figure out, the things that have not been figured out yet.
What's really interesting about that is that's exactly what your program is, isn't it?
Oh, knock my phone over. Hold on.
Well, and that, I mean, I know it was a good question, but I don't know if it was, that kind of response is necessary. But,
throwing you around everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earthquake.
Earth moving show. The big thing is that with Secrets of the Asylum, Steph and I had been talking for some time about we wanted to do a show where we really dug in deep. We've always had these questions about we have these interactions with supernatural entities. We have these interactions with ghosts, is what we'll call them. And it's almost like everyone out there says they're there to help someone, or they're there to capture evidence, or they're to figure it out, but they seem to stop once they get the evidence.
Yeah.
And for me, my thought process has always been there's a reason why they're reaching out. There's a reason why this interaction is happening. And if we can kind of dig deeper into the history of the location and look at something that might match up with the evidence we're getting, we might find that there's a story that the spirits are trying to tell us, or something they're trying to show us to help them in getting their story across.
I had been watching the program, and I just say, first of all, how well done it is. It is such a good show.
Thank you.
I mean, I only say this because it is my background, but anyone is going to appreciate what I'm going to say. First of all, the production values of the show, I mean, are very beautiful. The place looks great, and it's really good. But what I really like about it, Scott, too, is that it's not a big group of people doing investigations. Not only that, you're doing it methodically. There isn't
Mhm.
people freaking out, which I
No.
appreciate as well. It's just a very thoughtful and respectful program. And I think, I'm trying not to make general sweeping statements about paranormal television, but to me, it's a breath of fresh air.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, that was what we were going for. I mean, it's like I said, people, and not to say that other shows have done something wrong, but
Exactly.
I've watched shows where, and I've been on shows where each week you're at a new location, and you're there, you're filming for a few days, and you have some evidence, you have a historical story, you tell it, you say, hey, we got evidence, and then you move on, and there's never that deep digging to try to see what's happening. And so the big thing we wanted to do was peel back those layers of the onion and see what's really at the core, especially at a place like Eloise Asylum.
And that is a big part of it. I think that is, I mean, and yours is not, of course, the first series to have like one area or one location over the course of a certain number of episodes, but I feel like that it is more focused than what I've ever seen before.
Mhm.
And it is such a it truly is kind of taking away, as you say, taking away of layers of the onion, because there is so much to see, and you all pay respect to those who probably have died there, and that was big to allow family members to be able
Mhm.
to say and kind of grieve. I think that was very important.
It is, and I mean that's the thing about it is very seldom do you ever get a chance to talk to
Yeah.
family of those individuals who you may be making contact with, those spirits, those entities, and getting their story and being able to tell their story and find out what they went through. It paints a picture, because there's so much history that's not recorded or that wasn't spoken of in the history books because people didn't want to talk about it. And if you talk to people who lived it or who heard those stories in their family, it it paints a better picture for you to be able to dig into the history of the location. And it's also healing for them, you know.
Very much so. Could you give us a little bit of the background of Eloise, please? And is it Eloise Sanatorium? Is it what is the full title of that location?
Well, it's Eloise Asylum,
Thank you.
but it started out life ages ago as the Wayne County Poorhouse. So it's been around since the 1800s. Um, it started as just a location where people just drop people off.
Hmm.
It grew into one of the largest asylums or medical facilities around. It was 902 acres. I think it was 78 buildings. I mean, they literally had their own fire department, their own police. They had their own zip code, their own post office. They made their own power. They had their own farm. They were pretty much a self-sufficient town. And I mean, it was a beautiful location from the outside. And there's many people who worked there that said that they did great things. And I'm sure they did in some sense, because you have to think it was a different time. But Eloise was huge, and the story that we found was that in some cases, when people were dropped off there, if the family didn't come back to visit them, then those individuals basically became test subjects for whatever procedure or product or new discovery they were looking to test.
And that was and I have Don asking where is Eloise, and that's just outside of Detroit.
Just outside of Detroit, yes.
Yeah.
It's,
What it just, I mean, and what really was frightening about this too is, like, obviously there's something underhanded going on, turning patients into test subjects, and the idea that they would keep track of what families would come back, and those
mhm.
those patients would be in nicer, like, looked like a livable area opposed to most everyone else there.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when you walked into the main building, the K Beard building, when you walked into it, I mean, it was beautiful. It had marble and robust wood trim, and just really a beautiful place when you first walked in. But then if you went to some of the back buildings that are no longer there, of course, or you were able to get into the tunnels, you found a different atmosphere.
Was anybody, because it seems like, if I'm not mistaken, Eloise was closed, what, in 1981 or something, wasn't it?
It was in the 80s, yes. It was 81, 82. Yeah.
Right. But was there anyone who was charged at that place for mishandling of human beings, basically, or was it just something kind of swept under the rug?
No, I mean, it seems to be one of those things that either was swept under the rug, or as a society, our acceptance of certain things changes with time. Yeah. And so at the time, perhaps it was one of those things that was just accepted and it was not looked at as at that level. Of course, many of those people who were involved in the earlier testing, those people have been gone for some time. So there's nothing really to charge them with. But it's just a different time and place.
But it does feel like, based on what maybe some of those people were kind of alluding to, that if someone found out that they're going to Eloise, that not necessarily a death sentence, but it was not somewhere you'd want to go.
Oh my gosh, it was one of those things that was feared by many. Yeah. And even parents would tell kids that were unruly that if you don't stop, if you don't act right, we're going to send you to Eloise, or you're going to end up at Eloise. And that put the fear of God in kids, so they would act right.
Gosh, that's ridiculous. The program, once again, is Secrets of the Asylum, Scott Porter's and Stephanie Burke's program on Fox Nation streaming service. What we're going to do, why don't we go ahead, let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the evidence that Scott and Stephanie had picked up during the investigation. Also, folks, feel free to put your questions in the comments as we continue our conversation. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness, and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Magus Books, your multicultural spiritual supply store. Stop in and expand your horizons with books, classes, readings, and supplies at magusbooks.com or in our shop at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis. From the best incense to beautiful statues, we have supplies and books for your spiritual explorations. Come in and chat with our knowledgeable staff and get what you need for your next adventure, whether you're fighting ghosts or opening your third eye. Check us out today at magusbooks.com.
Hello, I'm Jody, also known as Witch Jody on social media. I opened Midwest Witchery and Healing in historic Stillwater because as a nurse, I love to help others. When you come and visit Midwest Witchery and Healing, you will find everything from divination and magical services, classes to ritual tools, jewelries, handcrafted candles, witchy gear, and much more. My store is a safe environment for all on their own unique path. Look for the purple door. Find out more at MidwestWitcheryHealing.com.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
And welcome back to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakken. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great week so far. I've had a really good week. I've been watching this fantastic series on Fox Nation streaming service. It is, of course, it's called Secrets of the Asylum. Tonight I have with us Scott Porter. This has been quite the exciting program. I've been, I asked people, go ahead, put comments in the chat. And, right away, people are wondering where season 2 is. One in particular, I've been watched the first 6 episodes, but season 1 is 6 episodes, right? That's
Yes.
Is that where you left off?
That's it. The first season is 6 episodes, so we're hopeful that we can hear something soon and we can go back and continue to dig into the history of Eloise because there's so much more left.
There's so many reasons why I love this series, which I'm afraid to say all of them because I don't want to give anything away as well. But the idea that it's ongoing and that you and Stephanie are allowing it to breathe. It's truly, it's once again, I just love the fact that you're able to do that. I want to talk a little bit about what was going on there when you were all investigating. And I do apologize. The local paranormal researcher, could you remind me of his name, please?
Oh, Ryan Sherwin.
Thank you very much. I could not. There's a lot of names in this program. There's a lot of people that you see, either living or dead. Give me a break.
Yes.
I'm doing the best I can. But I mean, he was incredible. There was certain parts that was kind of trying for him, and I don't blame him at all.
Right.
But overall, no one freaked out. That was so nice to see. I know. I mean, it was really, really cool. But within the first episode, you're already getting some pretty ridiculous stuff happening from spirits when you're investigating. Or actually, were you even investigating or just doing the walkthrough?
No, we were doing the walkthrough, and the way that we approach it is that Stephanie goes through. She's a psychic medium. She goes through and she kind of just feels the area and starts telling the story. She just starts spewing information. So I'm recording it, writing it down, so that if anything comes out, we can go back and kind of look and see if we can find those connections.
Right.
The beautiful part about the show is you'll see these flashes where there's these recreations. Yeah. And the big thing that we wanted to do in the show was, it's one thing to have a psychic medium telling you what they're seeing and what they're experiencing, what they're feeling, but those images are straight from Steph. Those images are what she's feeling, what she's seeing. So we want to kind of give the viewer some insight into her mind as well. But the very first night we get in there, we're doing the walkthrough, and Steph and I are going back and forth. We're talking. She's giving me names. She's, things that she's hearing, things that she feels. And as we're both standing there, we're watching one of our camera guys. So we had, at that particular time, we had 3 camera guys with us and an audio guy. That was the only people that were there. We may have had one more person who was an assistant, just kind of helping move things around as we were going. But we were aware of everyone's location. So we knew where everyone was.
Yep.
It's not, all the other crew is in one single room locked down. So we know what's happening. We know what noises are happening or the ones that we want to hear. But we're watching our camera guy. And what really got our attention was he was stepping into a nurse's station to film us from inside the nurse's station. And he bumped one of the cameras, or bumped the camera on the door frame. And you know how expensive those cameras are.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did is both of us looked. We're looking straight at him, and we kind of settle back into what we're doing. And immediately, like, he throws the camera to the floor. I mean, just throws it.
That's right.
And he says, "Something is stinging me. Something's in my shirt. Something's in my back. Something's stinging me." So we filmed this in May of 22. So it's been 22. Yeah, 22. And so it's been a while since it was filmed. But so the first thing that we're thinking is maybe it's a wasp. There's something has gotten to his shirt. So Steph says, "Hey, I'm going to raise your shirt up and take a look and see what it is." So when she pulls his shirt up, there's scratches on his back everywhere. Now, I've heard of people getting scratched. I've seen people's aftermath of getting scratched, and I've always questioned it. I even questioned this, but the thing was, it happened right in front of me. Yeah. And when we pulled the shirt up, the shirt was one of those, the moisture wicking type material. There was not a stitch out of place on the outside of the shirt. Yep. On the inside of the shirt, there was no blood on the shirt, but his wounds were actively bleeding at that point. So we knew it just happened. And we tried to explain all that in the show. There's no way that and we checked the walls, we checked everything. Something legitimately attacked him from behind.
As a fellow paranormal investigator, one of the things that I've learned over the years when it comes to scratches, and I actually implemented this at an event I was at York, Nebraska, at a mortuary back in 2022, actually, as it happens. And some guy had said to me, he comes up to me at the end, and you kind of know the type, if you don't mind me saying so, of where you're going to have problem investigators at events. And he's just like, I was scratched, back of my neck scratched, and you look at him, and it sure is scratched. But a couple things. First of all, there's a puffiness, like irritation around the scratches that if it's something spirit, there really isn't that sort of puffiness irritation. And secondly, I'm like, hey, can I see your hands for a second? And he showed me, and he had skin in his fingernails.
Yeah.
I said, I'll let you just leave, and we won't say anything more. But also, I have to say, Scott, I did have Stephanie on my show, a different iteration of my show, probably about 6 years ago or something. And she did say, using her mediumship, she's like, someday I'm going to have a future boyfriend who will not respond to you on Facebook. It was really, it was really incredible. But no, she didn't. She had the true part of that story. She was on my show. The everything else is a blatant lie. It really is I mean, like you said, you're looking at it. I mean, are you worried about yourself or Stephanie at this point? Because I mean, this is, do you subscribe? And no offense to the camera person, but sometimes it always seems like the weakest link is the one that gets attacked. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this particular camera guy was probably not the weakest link.
Okay.
But it was very intriguing. We're still digging into that aspect of it, the whole aspect of why him. I mean, he did back into a nurse's station in an area where there was a murder by a patient. The interesting thing that happened was, after the cameras were off, the cameraman actually went to Stephanie and said, "Hey, what just happened? What happened to me?" He was visibly shaken. He had a very genuine interest in what happened to him. And, she spoke to him and said, I don't know what it was, because we didn't know at that point. We were just in there trying to collect or gather a feel for the building and kind of get an idea of what we were getting into. And he actually, after that night, he left. He packed his bags and left, and we had to operate differently after that. So he wouldn't come back.
And I don't blame him, right? If this is your first time, I mean, a lot of people on these crews, they don't, in my experience, they don't believe in any of it,
right,
until something happens. So I don't know if that's the case for this gentleman. It doesn't really matter. What's happened. Right. What do we want to talk about next for some standout evidence? Because I'm being very careful. Scott and I talked about this before the show. There's some big things that happen in this show that, if you like to watch stuff caught on camera, you're not going to be disappointed. But we want to talk about some of it, but not all of it.
I think one of the pieces that we really dug into, that you'll see us digging into on the show, and I'll kind of give the Cliff Notes version of it. There's a spirit there. She's a young girl. She had been committed to the asylum because she was having seizures. They were treating her with something called water therapy. And so the history is she had been released for Christmas to go spend time with her parents. And she had, visit with them, had a great Christmas. She didn't want to go back to the asylum. Her parents said, honey, you've only got I think she had 4 more weeks or a month or ever how much longer it was to stay there. It wasn't much. And they said, if you go back, you complete this bit, you'll be done and you'll be back home. And she was adamant she didn't want to go back. She didn't like the things she was seeing or experiencing. And what we found out was that she had kind of a free roam. She could walk around the buildings and just kind of visit and see things that maybe she shouldn't see. But she was there about 2 weeks, or maybe it wasn't that long. Maybe it was 7 or 8 days. And she drowned in the hydrotherapy tub. We went in to investigate because that's an area where people have said they've experienced her. I mentioned her name was Harmonia.
Yeah.
And we thought that with Steph and I both being parents and having both of us have children around the same age as what Harmonia was, that we might be able to make a real valid connection with her. And so we tried to go in there and talk to her like she was a child and get to know her. And Steph got into the tub to kind of put herself in the place where Harmonia was when she passed, to see if she could visualize what happened. And when she did that, we had a disembodied voice in the room that everyone heard. We captured it on every recording device we had. We had 2 cameras going, 3 mic packs, and an audio recorder. Captured it everywhere. And it was such a fast phrase that you couldn't really tell what it was. It just kind of sounded like just some sounds. But anyway, while Steph was there, she actually says it's not an accident when she's visualizing what happened. We also got some strange names on a geoport that we were using there. And come to find out, after doing some manipulation to the audio of the disembodied voice, I literally slowed it way down, and it became more clearly that there was a girl's voice there saying, they killed me. So we had always read that she drowned by having a seizure while she was in the middle of a hydrotherapy session. That was the first clue that something had happened from her, and the fact that Steph literally said it was not an accident. So when we went back and looked, we found the name that was coming to the geoport that we didn't know had any connection to her case. The name Edmund kept coming through the geoport, Edmund. And what we discovered was, when we found her death certificate, we found that the coroner on her death certificate was Edmund Knobloch. And he tried to literally reopen her case as a homicide after he had said that it was a drowning of natural cause. Wow. So it doesn't get more real than the spirit telling the story of something that is wrong in history.
And that you could find the validation through other means as well.
Yes. Right. We literally got access to some of Edmund's, I think, journals, and some other articles where he had stated that he tried to reopen the case as a homicide. So he had, when you look at the room, looking at it from an investigative standpoint, the room was probably, I would say, 15, 16 feet by 10 or 12 feet with a tub in the middle. If you're a nurse and you're in that room, you've got someone in the tub, if they start having a seizure, you're going to see them, you're going to hear them, you're going to know that something's wrong, you're going to get them out of the tub. Yep. It all screams homicide to me.
And that's just one example.
Just one of thousands of examples. Literally just in front of the building there at Eloise, the K Beard building, across Michigan Avenue, there's a potter's field with, we know, over 7,000 unclaimed bodies that are just buried there.
That's just incredible. And dare I point out at this, and we're talking with Scott Porter about his show on Fox Nation streaming service, Secrets of the Asylum, an absolutely fantastic show that is paranormal, but beyond paranormal as well. But I do want to say, and I don't know if this is the right time to say it, you and Stephanie also focus on the positive as well of spirit communication at this location. Yeah. I don't know how deep you want to get into that, but I just want to point that out that, you know, there is so much dark and nastiness there, but you also make sure that the positive is also, talked about as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's positive stories. There were, and it's an interesting dichotomy of how on one side you have people who had a very nice experience, mm-hmm. and they are very thankful for the experience they had. But then on the other side, you have these horrific things that occurred. I mean, this location, they tested the first X-rays on humans, you know, at this location. So, you know, there was lots of things that occurred, but there, like you said, there's good stories as well. And you have to bring out the good with the bad.
And I guess I was also kind of meaning more of like that you go into this location, obviously there's a lot of dark energy there, but it's also a good situation for spirits to be heard as well, that are not dark entities, but being able to be heard as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just like, you know, with Harmonia, she's a great little spirit that's there. She had something bad that happened to her in life, but even now, we were just back there and did an event investigation, and we took a music box up to that same room, which we used in the show. And I placed the music box in the tub, and what it does, it's got a motion sensor on one end of it. It self-calibrates. It shoots off of whatever solid surface is in front of it. You have to break the beam or move motion in front of that thing to get it to go off. I placed it in the tub, turned it on, and as I walked out, I said, Harmonia, I said, it's Scott. I'm back here to see you again, hon. I said, there's a music box. We put it back in the tub for you. If you want to play with it, you're more than welcome to. I turned around, walked out of the room, got to the hallway. The music box starts playing. I mean, it's like she's just there to play.
That is amazing. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's go ahead, take our second break. When we come back, I want to talk about the production process a little bit with Scott. Also, folks, don't forget to put your questions into the chat if you have anything that you'd like to ask Scott. We're having a great conversation. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
Hello, I'm Jody, also known as Witch Jody on social media. I opened Midwest Witchery and Healing in historic Stillwater because as a nurse, I love to help others. When you come and visit Midwest Witchery and Healing, you will find everything from divination and magical services, classes to ritual tools, jewelries, handcrafted candles, witchy gear, and much more. My store is a safe environment for all on their own unique path. Look for the purple door. Find out more at MidwestWitcheryHealing.com.
In the heart of the Northeast, there lies a hidden beast, a dragon's lair at the crossroad, guarded by the maiden Mother Crone. A treasure trove of spells galore, discover incense, books, jewelry, and more. Just as the oracles foretold, this is where your mystery unfolds. As the shadows creep and the veil gets thin, do not fear what lies within. Magus Books is where your journey begins. Visit us at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis or online at magusbooks.com.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
And join me tomorrow on Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. We're going to have the return of Moon Girl, Mistress of the Paranormal. We're going to be talking about Chinese face readings. We actually were going to have her on a couple months ago. I got ill, but we're going to be talking about this. It's very in-depth. It's very cool. And, we had Moon Girl on back in July talking about dream interpretation. And boy, she knows what she's talking about. I'm really excited to be able to have her back on the program. I am finishing up my conversation with Mr. Scott Porter. We've been talking about Secrets of the Asylum. It's streaming on Fox Nation. Go ahead and get the streaming service. Not only is that show on there, but there's a lot of other great shows on there as well. I saw one with Rob Lowe on there as well, and it's 1999, I think, 1995, 1999 for the year. But what is the what does the military get again, Scott?
If you are a veteran, whether active or retired, if you are a first responder, police, fire, emergency services, rescue, you get a full year for free just for signing up.
So do it. Please do it. And this is a show well worth streaming and giving the time to and really enjoying and going back and rewatching, because there is a lot that is going on in it. There's a lot of layers to it as well, which is really nice. So how long were you for this first season? How long were you actually there at Eloise?
Let's see. We were on site for about, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks total. We were there for a couple weeks, a little over that, and then we had to leave because we had to go out of country and then come back and then finished up, and then we made return trips back. But we did 2 weeks solid at a time is what we did.
Sure. Wow. And when you're going through evidence, because I saw, there's scenes of all of you going through stuff. Are you and Stephanie going through everything yourselves? Or do you have anyone else helping? Or
well, like with any show, you have to have people helping you.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate. We're our showrunner, our producer is Rob Safi. Safi loves the paranormal just as much as we do. And, he loves to go through the evidence as well. And so, we're all looking at things, trying to find stuff. So it's a group effort. The best part about it, I remember the first day on set, we got there to start filming, and I asked Rob, I said, is there any type of program we need to follow? I said, are we looking for something in particular? Is there something I need to hit on as we start into this investigation? And he said, the only thing I ever need you to say is, hi, this is who we are. We're at Eloise Asylum. And he said, let the spirits write the show.
Wow.
And that's what we did. We literally, every night when we finished, we went back and we sat down. We talked about what we had captured. We started looking at evidence, and we found, if whatever we found, that's how the show got turned. It followed whatever the evidence told us to follow.
It seemed like it was, while you're investigating, it had to have been a fairly grueling schedule, because it would show that you all were there like 2, 3 in the morning, still investigating, picking up stuff. I mean, that had to have been really a lot of work, really hard for, just on your psyche and your body to do a marathon like that 2 weeks at a time.
It was really tough. I mean, and I have to say, the production crew, the network, they took care of us so well. They know what we were dealing with, and they really did take care of us. But there were times when I would be there to interview family members or past employees or people who've done research or whatever, because Steph was in the legal field, we call it a Chinese wall. she was kept separate from all the information that I
Mhm.
was able to find. And even there was some information that I didn't get until much later that maybe other researchers would have, just because we didn't want to taint the investigation.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting that, from that standpoint. But man, the days, there were mornings when we had been there from the day before. We were shooting scenes and trying to beat the sun coming up, and then we would go back. We'd get a few hours sleep, and then be right back at the asylum.
I mean, did you all sleep in coffins? I mean, what? My God! I mean, just amazing. But that's every time I have someone like yourself on a show who does television, I think that's the one
Mhm.
thing that I really like to stress is that production is not easy. It
No.
really is not an easy thing for those who think, oh, I'd love to get a TV show and just to do what I love to do, paranormal investigate. It's like, yeah, you get to do that, but it is not easy. There's nothing easy about what you're doing, Scott.
It's not a leisurely investigation. It's in this sense, it's when I talk about a deep dive and peeling back those layers of the onion, you have that going on,
Yeah.
but you also have the aspect of having to film all of that and be able to present it in a show. So there's certain angles you have to get. There's certain things you have to tell the story, and it's not just a leisurely investigation.
And when you're talking, when you're explaining to Stephanie or anyone else on camera about something, you have to also think about how am I going to say this? Because you and Stephanie, especially being as close as you are, you probably have your own language, basically,
We
and you
do.
all know what you're thinking about. But you have to really, and I don't want to say dumb it down because that's not what it is, but you really have to think about what you're saying so that you're forming it in a way that all of us people watching are totally getting it and following along because it's now a narrative as well.
Right. And what you have to do is you have to become a storyteller,
Yeah.
and you have to over explain the story. So there may be something that you have intuitively picked up from reading the history and putting the picture together that someone else would not see unless you explained it to them.
Absolutely. Carol in the chat had asked the question to you: have you had any spirits follow you home?
Well, it's a funny question because I get that a lot. One of the things that has happened to Steph and I several times, not only at Eloise, but it's happened to us at other other trips. Hawaii was a big place that it happened to us, but at Eloise, we had the spirits come to us in our dreams. Um, I never dream. It's like
Yeah.
it's very rarely do I ever dream. But when we were there at Eloise and starting the investigation, we started seeing these images of things that were of Eloise. And what we've learned to do is that we don't tell each other exactly what we're dreaming. We kind of write it down and then we talk about it. So that way we have something to say, hey, listen, I actually did dream this. This is something here. And then that was kind of pointing us in a direction to tell a story for a certain spirit. So do they follow you home? I mean, I guess so. Um, I think we all are energy. There's energy all around us. They are energy, and energy moves much faster and over greater distances easier than what we can. So there's no relevance of time, place, or position with them. So I think they can come visit you.
And clearly it sounds like that they and this is something I wanted to talk about too is the amount of times that you both have been there now and the
Mhm.
investigation and what you're doing. I mean, do you consider it that you've made friends with some of these spirits because they know you, or they, like you mentioned with the bathtub just last segment. I mean, that seems to be, there's a level of being comfortable with you.
I think you build a rapport. I think the spirits can sense on the energetic level what your intentions are.
Mhm.
And I think they know, or they learn, who they can trust and who they can rely on to tell the true story. I say build a rapport. when we first got there, nothing wanted to talk to us. It was just everything was standoffish. And as we continued to come back and show that we had this genuine desire to figure out their story and share it, then it almost like it opened the floodgates of everybody that was there wanted to come and tell us their story so that we could talk about it.
I can imagine from a production standpoint, no one's talking to you, and you're like, oh my God, I mean, this is supposed to be a TV show about spirits talking to us. But it's true though. I mean, I think, and it makes me think too, it's like kind of how animals can tell when there's good people around and stuff, that, that they can get that energy and stuff. And I like the idea that they come to you in dreams because they know that you're there to help, you're there to understand. And that's something that a lot of people, a lot of investigators, you said at the beginning, they come in, they want to help, but once you get to a certain point, once they're able to have that thrill ride, and that's the thing that, I teach a paranormal course with my friend Shar, and that's one of the things that we keep trying to instill into people is like, you can, the thrill is always being out there playing with some of the equipment and stuff, but you have to do the follow through. And not only for your client, but also for the spirits as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the things that we do. I mean, you get excited when you capture evidence. I mean, that's just the nature of our industry. We want to have that interaction. And so that's great. But why did they have that trust in you to communicate with you? Why did they come across and try to share something with you from their life? That's the part you have to dig into.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also would love to commend both of you or all of you for the whole production, that you're not coming up with weird things to use to try to get spirit interaction. It's all very, first of all, a lot of stuff that you can find or get. Some of it may be more expensive than other items, but it doesn't matter. It's still available. But it's stuff that it's not out of the bounds of what we all use, and showing that you're getting really good responses from them as well.
Right. I think one of the most simple things, Steph and I were talking before we went up there to do the investigation and film the show. And she said, I've got a feeling that we could do something with bells.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what are you thinking about? And she said, let's just tie them on strings, maybe hang them in a room or hang them in doorways and just see if something will ring a bell. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that sounds like a good thing. Let's try that. And it's pretty easy to set up and inexpensive. And lo and behold, watch the show and you'll see what happened.
Absolutely.
That was very interesting.
That's fantastic. And I've done similar with bells, and I've had some movement and stuff on them. And that's, like you said, it's the most simplest thing, and it doesn't have to be. And I suppose too, what's also good when you're doing these investigations and using equipment, that you want to have something that the spirits that you're trying to reach would understand what it is. It's nothing like weird or scary or lights up. Like, yeah, some of the stuff lights up, but at least some of the stuff is tangible to them.
Right. And I think one of the things that was great about the bells, and we didn't know this until we got there, but the asylum actually used a bell system to be able to ring nurses to come to the rooms.
Oh, yeah.
So it was perfect trigger object.
It really is. And gosh, there's, and like we said last segment, this is just a couple of the things that happen to you all when you're out there, and we haven't talked about some of the big things that are just mind blowing. And it's just you all had to been just really excited. I mean, it seems like that doing that sort of thing really pumps you up to do more investigation, especially if you have a long night and you're just like, oh, what are we getting? What's going on? To see and hear some of the stuff you all got had to just pump you up.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was funny because when we were filming, we would find a piece of evidence and Steph and I would immediately start to smile. And Rob, of course, he was behind the camera as well. And he'd be like, okay, guys, listen, you can't smile every time you see something that's supernatural. You've got to be serious. I'm like, but that's how we react, because it's like you've been searching for this, and it's you found it, and that's just that brings joy to be able to find it. But I mean, like when you watch the show, one of the big things too that I wanted to hit on, when you're investigating and you're trying to reach someone, in one scene you'll see us, we're trying to communicate with someone who's potentially in the potter's field, and we kept getting the term horse.
Yeah.
And most people would probably think, oh, it's just a random word. We started digging into it, and we found that it had a very, very significant a piece to the puzzle there.
It's absolutely amazing, and I just cannot stop praising the program. It's once again, it's Secrets of the Asylum. It is available on Fox Nation. It's a subscription service, well worth it. I see a couple people on the chat saying that they want to subscribe. Please let us know that you do so, and let us know your thoughts. Yes. Scott, thank you so very much for taking the time tonight and talking to me about this amazing program.
Oh, thank you so much. And everybody who's listening, you can follow me on social media. All my social media is at Scott Porter TN, and shoot me your questions. I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Scott. And tomorrow we'll be back with Moon Girl. Have a great night, everyone.
I'm standing up for the middle class. Tom Hartman here on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.